so just because we don't have a ton of participants on right now, we are going to go ahead and just kind of bypass some of this introductory stuff. This is kind of the Esports 101 webinar brought to you by the Michigan High School Esports League and Play Versus. My name is Ryan Casey. I'm the Director of Esports for MHSEL. And just so you know, we're going to be on here for about 30 to 45 minutes covering kind of all of the basics as it relates to not just our league, but really esports in general, scholastic esports, and what that looks like at the high school kind of world and all the benefits associated with that. So you can at any time throw something in the Q&A. The chat's open. We will get you a copy of the slide deck, which has a ton of links and resources built in. So you will definitely want to go through, even if you're watching this recording, which we'll send out as well down the road, but you will want to go through the slide deck and check out, because there's just a lot of good stuff in here that you can click on and read and watch and follow up on if you have questions. So, we are, again, as I mentioned, MHSEL, the Michigan High School Esports League. There's a lot of acronyms on this slide that you'll see here, but essentially, we are Michigan's largest esports league. We are powered by Play Versus, which is our platform partner that helps actually kind of run and organize the league in terms of the scheduling and behind the scenes work that takes place to get all those matches in each and every week and season. We're actually hosted by the Michigan Association of Secondary School Principals, which is MASSP, as well as the Michigan Student Leadership Group, which is the Association of Student Councils and Honor Societies. So we have a lot of experience working with educators and administrators and decision makers, as well as kids. And so we know if things are good for kids, they're good for principals, and it's good for the entire school community, which is why we are passionate about esports. So just a couple of quick facts. We're getting ready to enter our 5th year, believe it or not. We started this back during COVID, when a lot of the schools were closed. So this is a great opportunity for kids to still be involved when they were going to school remotely and working from home. But now that we're back and rocking and rolling, it's really taken off. We have 2 seasons each school year, fall and spring. Those are not dependent on one another. We have, the majority of our schools playing both, but depending on how busy kids are in certain parts of the year or your coach availability, you can participate in one or the other. And we do have 10 different games that are being offered, potentially some news about those, I think, coming out soon as well. But all of the games your kids are playing right now at home, online with their friends, we basically have in this league, and they can be part of, the school community and have a school team to compete, which is really, really exciting. MHSEL actually has an advisory board that kind of represents all regions of the state and all different types of school settings, with different voices being represented there. And they helped us create this mission and vision statement, which really just at its heart explains that, yes, we want kids to be able to compete, and a lot of benefits come out of competition, but there's so many other benefits related to participating in scholastic esports, related to growing skill sets for the kids, connecting them to college and career opportunities. And that's really one of the awesome things, beyond just having fun playing these games that they're really good at, is all of these additional benefits. And so for us, our vision is to be the elite high school esports league in the state. Here is a quick video. I'm not going to play the whole thing, but again, this is one of those links you can check out later. If you haven't seen esports before, or really your only perception might be from maybe your own child or somebody plays video games in their bedroom or in the basement right at night or whatever. So this is going to really show you what an actual competition looks like. And if you've gone to traditional sports stuff before, it's going to be very familiar. If you've ever gone to a FIRST robotics event before, it's going to have that same feel where kids are competing, they're excited, we're high-fiving, people are cheering, we have really intense close matches. And this last one comes from our spring championship, which just ended, which was held at Oakland University at the end of April. there'll be some different, facts that pop up on the screen. But essentially, we had 16 schools there. We had 4 different game titles being played throughout the day. We did both semifinals and finals matches. You see some of the games: Smash Brothers, Rocket League, Mario Kart, Overwatch. We do walk-up music as the kids walk out. We call, read off their stats for the season before the 2, heavyweights battle it out. We do trophies at the end for first place and runner-up, and plaques for other teams. Shoutcasters on site typically to help stream the games. So that's one of the cool things about esports is a lot of the games can be broadcasted online, so people can watch them all over the world. See how excited some of these kids are to receive their awards. For a lot of these kids, every year we get stories, kind of pulls on your heartstrings because the kids are so excited because this is the first time they've ever received a medal before or anything. A good chunk of these kids have never done traditional sports, after-school clubs, band, things like that. So that's really the power behind esports. Just for time, I'm going to go ahead and pause there. Again, you can watch more if you want down the road. The spring season was our largest to date. We had 164 schools, 700 plus teams, and over 3,000 students competing across 10 different game titles. Out of the 10, 9 were state leagues, meaning that it was all kept in-house. We had enough schools and teams that Michigan schools were playing other Michigan schools. And the matchups are really cool because sometimes you might have like a Southeast kind of Detroit suburb school taking on a team from the Upper Peninsula, right? How often does that happen in volleyball and basketball and football, right? So it's really cool. And then one of the leagues was a regional league, meaning if we don't have quite enough schools or teams in Michigan, we'll expand that to other, states kind of in our area or on our time zone. So they still get to have a fun, competitive, season schedule. You see some of the growth on this page and the little map there. We have obviously a ton down here, kind of the Detroit area, the Grand Rapids side, and it's definitely expanding up into the northern part of the state. We even have some in the UP, so it really is cool to watch this growth from over the last 5 years. But we had some of the largest growth, I believe, in the entire country in Michigan this last spring. And so I'm going to kind of pause talking about the Michigan High School Esports League specifically. At the end of this webinar, I'll talk about some unique things that our league does that kind of separates us from some others and some of the really cool opportunities that we provide students and coaches and schools. But for now, I'm going to turn it over to my friends Eric and Zach from Play Versus. These are the people that you will probably be talking to if you decide to go down this road and jump into esports. Play Versus has been a great partner for us. Anything we ask, any improvements we need to have made or things to think about or new features we want to see, they are really good about trying to make that happen, be able to provide an awesome experience for student athletes. So I'm going to stop talking. I will watch the chat and the Q&A. So Eric and Zach, if you guys want to take it over, I will try and click along and keep up with you.
Awesome. Thanks for that, Ryan. Everyone, my name is Zach Baxley. I am a Scholastic Esports Program Manager here at Play Versus. So basically assisting returning schools, whether that's growing their program or whether they have to, engage more students or anything like that. I'm usually there to help them along the way with that. But we'll kind of jump into the rest of this if you want to go to the next slide, Ryan. And so we're just going to kind of talk about the esports experience provided by Play Versus and with the MHSEL. And you can go through the next one. We're going to quickly kind of go over a quick introduction of what Play Versus is, the important dates for the upcoming season, and then Eric will kind of go in on how new schools and coaches can get started, what the expectations for the coaches are, deadline for dates, and then we'll go through any questions and provide some resources for you guys as well. And so basically, what is Play Versus? Ultimately, Play Versus is a safe space for accredited high schools to be able to compete in esports. We do provide everything you need to build and scale your esports program. So while our platform also has a bunch of tools in between to keep your day-to-day experience a positive one. So for example, you'll be able to have the ability to contact the competitors' coaches straight from your match day lobby chat, manage any teams in case you have substitutions, as well as opportunities for scrimmaging and rescheduling in case something might come up. And having an esports program is very beneficial for your students. Ryan touched on a few of the benefits that they have. Obviously, there's a lot of state leagues in Michigan, but there was that one regional league where you're able to play with schools from across the country. And our scrimmaging feature also lets you play with schools across the country, whether they're in Florida, New York, Arkansas, California. If you kind of want to test out some of those other programs and see where your student's skill level on a national level is, you can always try that out. Your students are also able to develop a lot of valuable skills such as teamwork, leadership, and communication, which is basically they're going to be able to use that post high school graduation, whether that's when they're furthering their education in college or whenever they're joining the workforce. They'll have those skills that they learned through esports. Another thing that Ryan had mentioned is this gives a lot of students exposure to scholarships and career paths. Like we saw the state championships at Oakland University. They have a pretty good esports program up there, but there's a ton, whether it's in Georgia, Michigan, Mississippi. There's so many different states and schools that are offering these scholarships and opportunities to students. And going for career paths, yeah, maybe a small percentage of high school esports athletes will be able to go and play professional esports, but that's not to say that there aren't other career paths and opportunities for them, whether they're really interested in computer programming and game design, or maybe they're interested in being a live shoutcaster for some of these esports tournaments. There's so many different things that they can kind of go into with the help of this. And then we'll quickly kind of go over through the season timeline. So we do have two different seasons, both a fall and a spring season. Students are definitely able to play in both of those seasons if they want to. But for instance, maybe you have a student who they have marching band during the fall, and so the schedules are going to kind of conflict, so they can't really commit to esports then. Well, in the spring, their schedule clears up. They're able to compete. We want them to be able to compete whenever it aligns best for them. Each of those two seasons will start off with a 2-week optional preseason. These aren't mandatory, but we do like to tell schools to try to at least play in one of these preseason matches, whether it's a new school or a returning school. For new schools, it's always good to kind of test out, your IT, your internet connection, anything like that. And also for returning schools, you never know. Sometimes they might have to do a big IT update or change things over the summer that you might not be aware of. So it never hurts to kind of get that preseason match out of the way before the wins and losses start going on your record. After that 2-week preseason, we'll jump straight into our regular season matches, which is about 8 weeks long. You are able to select a bye week. So for instance, whether you have a fall break or Thanksgiving break, students won't be on campus. You can always select that as your bye week so that you're not getting a match scheduled and ultimately having to forfeit that because your kids are unable to play. After that 8-week regular season, we'll then jump straight into our postseason tournament, which depending on the size of the league and how many teams are in there, it could be anywhere from 2 to 4 weeks for that postseason tournament to wrap up. And going into a little bit more about the regular season schedule. So all games will start at 4 p.m. local time, and each game title is going to have its own specific game day. I always like to kind of throw this back to traditional sports such as like football. We all know football, Friday night lights, most of their games are played Friday evenings. And we kind of like to do the same similar thing for esports. So if you have a Super Smash Bros. Team, your students know every Wednesday when they wake up, okay, today's game day, whether I need to wear my esports jersey to school, whether I need to bring my controller, any equipment that I need, just kind of gives them that ability to know when they're playing and not just kind of have a hectic schedule everywhere throughout. And then we'll go on to the next one.
I'd actually, real quick, Zach, like to point something out. This is a really, really good slide because not only does it give you the breakdown of the days, you'll notice there's some additional information here, and I apologize if you're going to cover this later, but just to make sure, you'll notice that each game shows how many players are making up that team. So we have some games that have up to 5 players playing, and some games that are considered solo. So one player, one kid, one student per team. And so as you're giving this to your administrator, whoever the decision maker is, you've got to think about capacity a little bit here, right? So how many machines do we have in the computer lab or the media center or wherever we are playing this at, right? You don't want, if you only have, if you have 6 desktop computers, you're not going to be able to field 2 League of Legends teams because that would require 10 computers. Because if you have 2 teams and you can have multiple teams per game title, they would both be playing on the same day at the same time, right? So you got to think about that. It also lets you know kind of how they are played on what setup or what equipment. So PC, either desktop or laptop, not a Chromebook. I'll point that out. Those do not really play too friendly here. We have some are on a certain type of console, so like a Nintendo Switch or a PS4, which is going to become, I believe, the PS5 next year. I believe we are making the switch to PS5 in the fall. And then some will say console, meaning it's like a cross platform. So you can actually play this on a Switch, on an Xbox, on a PlayStation, on a PC. So you just have to be mindful of that. We have schools that go out and buy consoles, will buy Nintendo Switches, new or used. Go to GameStop, Facebook Marketplace. We have some that allow their students to bring it in from home, which is an option. So they'll check it in with their teacher or coach, before school starts. They'll get it out after school. Whatever you do, this is just, and I know Eric and Zach will talk about some resources at the end of this. You want to involve your IT or network administrators in this process, especially when a kid brings an Xbox or a Nintendo Switch from home. There's going to be some additional steps to get that thing on the network and through the filters. So, but this is just a really good screen to explain how many players are going to be needed. You're always going to want to carry extra players on the bench, just like Johnny, the quarterback, might get an injury or get sick one day or is out on vacation. You need somebody to be able to move up from your bench to fill that spot. So even though it might be a 3-person game, you may need to carry 4 or 5 on the bench, or I'm total on the team with a couple on the bench. So just a really good screen to go through and just to think about capacity. We generally tell people, don't force kids into a game. There's a survey that we have that you can use to send out when you kind of have an esports meeting, say like, who's interested? What games would you want to play if they are on these days of the week? And that'll kind of guide you. You might find out, man, I got nobody that wants to play Overwatch, but man, I got enough for 3 teams of Valorant, right? So that just kind of helps figure out, again, based on capacity, based on popularity and student demand, kind of where to go. So sorry, Zach, I will move on. I just wanted to touch on that a little.
No, that's everything you just said was great. And to kind of follow up on that, you typically recommend to my coaches, wait before you're going out to buy any equipment, like before going out and buying 10 new PCs or 10 new Nintendo Switches. First, send out that student interest survey to kind of gauge what they're interested in, because you don't want to buy 10 Switches and all they want to play is NBA 2K or League of Legends. Then the Switches you won't really have any use for on that. But no, Ryan, thank you for the input on that. That was great. And then here I wanted to kind of quickly go over some quick stats. 2 that really jump out to me are we've had over 16,000 schools across the nation compete on the Play Versus platform with over 600,000 total Play Versus users. So that just shows like the impact that we're having not only in Michigan, but across the nation. And another thing that Ryan had mentioned earlier, so we actually ran a survey not too long ago with our students, and 45% of players say that esports is the first sport or even extracurricular activity that they've ever competed in. So that just goes to show, the types of students that you're reaching are those that maybe they don't have that community or anything. Maybe they're the students that they're showing up at 8 a.m. and they're just looking at the clock until 3:30, ready to go home. This will provide them that community and those resources to be able to grow in their school. And then lastly, I just wanted to highlight our Play Versus Unified League. So Play Versus, we do have a national partnership with Special Olympics of North America, and the partnership is focused on growing Special Olympics Unified Esports, which basically combines students with the intellectual disabilities, so your Special Olympic athletes, and students without intellectual disabilities, which we refer to as our unified partners, on inclusive esports teams. So just like the regular season that I kind of shared a few slides ago with the Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, like they'll have these two games, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe and Rocket League, and they'll be able to compete against other unified teams throughout the region, wherever they're at. And also it has a quick little video. I'm not going to play it for time's sake. It's about 5 or 6 minutes, but it just does a really good job of kind of explaining what the Unified League is and how it impacts the students who are a part of it. And then from here, I'll toss it over to Eric to kind of go through how new coaches are going to get started and what they need to look for.
Perfect. I appreciate it, Zach, and appreciate the introduction and opportunity here, Ryan, to connect with more coaches and teams. I'm proud to say, like, we've been working to expand those numbers throughout this past season, the past couple of years. So proud to have played a role in those 164 schools and 700 teams and bringing in over 3,000 students, which is just crazy numbers when you look at participation throughout the state. Looking at some steps teams can take to get started, basically starting with the students and the players, progressing to the team, and then ultimately getting that team enrolled for our fall or spring season. Following along with kind of the steps on the screen here, player sign up, very simple. They're going to visit our home screen, top right-hand corner. You're going to see two options to either log in or compete for free, which is our way of saying sign up. We've included a video here on creating player accounts. We have similar videos that go along with creating coach accounts. So on both ends, they can either log in when teams created or students can actually log in and get on our platform and wait for that coach approval. Zach spoke to that student interest survey earlier, kind of utilizing this tool before you go out and spend the thousands of dollars on new PCs or PlayStations. See what the students want to play first. We've included this link here that you can utilize off this slide. After your players have joined the platform, or if you know that student interest is really heavy in Super Smash Brothers there on Wednesday afternoons, you can log in as a coach and create a team for this upcoming season. Simply log into your Play Versus dashboard. On the dashboard on the left-hand side will be a Manage Teams tab. This is where you'll be able to create a team, choose that game title, select that team creation, name that team, and then you can begin adding players on your home screen. Now, the final step of this puzzle in getting this team officially signed up for the fall and/or spring season is enrolling that team. Off of that Manage Teams tab, on the left-hand side, there will be a text box in the upper right-hand corner where you can manage enrollments. That will bring you to your enrollment screen where you will see all of your teams created, whether it's Smash Brothers, Mario Kart, Madden, or League of Legends. You will select the proper league, which will be the MHSEL league, day and time, make sure they line up with the correct schedule. And then on the right-hand side, as you see here on the screen, you will see update enrollment. Once you click that, your team will be officially enrolled in the fall and/or spring season. So taking a look at some coach expectations, and we broke this down into two big realms of seasonal expectations, what can be expected from either September to December or February to April, and game day. So on the seasonal expectations, we do want coaches to be somewhat in tune with the technology and the IT side of things. On our initial visit, whether you set up something with myself, Ryan, or Zach here, we do share our hardware and network specs or inclusion list that we recommend sharing with the IT and technology teams there on campus or through the district, just to make sure everything is lined up, resources are whitelisted, ports are opened, connectivity will be available for game day. I've included some important articles as well, along with the Play Versus rulebook and game day protocol. I suggest reviewing these prior to the season, during the season, sharing them with your administrators and or students so everybody's on the same page. Taking a look at scheduling that I believe Zach alluded to a bit earlier. On that game day, Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday, we actually provide our smart scheduler system where we take care of the matchmaking. So you will not need to jump into a queue system. You don't need to be making phone calls or emails to set up your own schedule. Nothing falls on your athletic director or activity director. We take care of week by week matchmaking. Now, we would like coaches to log in that Monday or Tuesday early in the game week, apologize, to make sure the schedules are lined up and then manage those rosters accordingly. So going to game day now and making sure those rosters and schedules are in check, checking in prior to game time, making sure systems are up and running, consoles and PCs are up and running with any important updates that need to be taken care of. Coaches do need to be in attendance for the games. It's not a set it and forget it. You need to be there on game day to make sure students are following the rules. Other teams and coaches are in accordance of this as well. Everybody's communicating openly to make sure everybody's on the same page. So you're a match lobby chat where coaches are going to be able to communicate with the opposing coach and team. If any tech difficulties or any hurdles do come up, we are quick to get the remedy to those.
And I'm going to pop in real quick here, Eric, just to reinforce some things you mentioned. So obviously we're talking about game day and match day expectations for, the coach or director, somebody's kind of overseeing the program, but it's really important to make sure that we're putting expectations on our student athletes, right, as well. Like if we want to legitimize what you are doing and the time you're going to be spending and the time the kids are going to be putting in, I strongly encourage you to have them have to sign a code of conduct, just like your volleyball players do, right? Put them on the eligibility checklist to make sure that they are passing their grades. Attendance checks to make sure, in order to play the game, you got to be in school. You can't be getting sent down to the principal's office for behavioral issues. Like have those same high expectations for your esports athletes, just like you would any other person. And just make sure that they understand that this is a commitment, that there's an expectation to be there for practices or scrimmages and games, and that'll help. And any issue that we've ever had with whether it's behavior or some sort of competitive integrity issue usually comes from a coach allowing students to get playing on their game and going, well, I'm here for the next hour. I'm going to go run some copies down in the office and giving them kind of free reign. And so it is really important that you are there, that you are making sure they're always being appropriate, making sure you're holding them, making they're accountable for their actions and their dialogue and things like that. And typically when we do that, everything runs really, really smoothly and it's a good experience for everybody, whether they win or lose. So just wanted to mention that.
Perfect. I appreciate it, Ryan. And speaking to some of those kind of best practices that go with game day, preseason, it's a terrific opportunity to get students acclimated, get everybody on the same page before the regular season kicks off. I like to say our preseason is very comparable to the NFL. Games don't matter a whole lot, but it's a great way to figure out your rosters, the settings, the rules, get everybody moving forward on the same page. Looking at the communication component of our platform, kind of twofold here. One, communicating with the other team, the other players, making sure everybody's on the same page with the match, but also, if needed, communicating with our team here at Play Versus. When you log into your Play Versus dashboard, even on our Play Versus website, there will be a chat box in the bottom right-hand corner, bright orange bubble, hard to miss, that will take you directly to our help resources. These are a few articles or titles that you can click on to answer questions. And if needed, you can click on the chat or discussion feature and be directly linked to a member of our Play Versus support team. Even on our busiest game days of Smash Brothers and NBA, I believe they have response time down to about 2 minutes. That's max. So something we're very proud of, where we can get any glitches or hurdles taken care of promptly. The last step here is recording these match results. So once the wins and losses have been dealt out, we do make sure both teams and both coaches are verified that team A won, team B lost. We verify on our end, and everybody says good game, and we're on our way. The final step we have here is that new coach sign up. As I kind of spoke to already with the player sign up, fairly simple process. It can be found on our Play Versus homepage, top right-hand corner. You'd select that compete for free. And it's as simple as entering email information, birth date, You're going to select your school and campus in the correct state. I do advise coaches to be a little careful here because Lincoln High School is a pretty popular name. You may find a couple in Michigan, Florida, Texas, Alabama, California. So please make sure you're selecting the correct campus and tell your students the same. We have students that select Washington High School in Florida when they're out in California, and it's an easy fix, but it can be avoided. So please make sure we're careful there. We take care of a verification process on our end. Once you are verified through PlayVersus, you'll have access to the coach dashboard and you're up and running. So looking at a few key dates and pricing, and I know Zach had shared some key dates schedule-wise beforehand. These are some key dates as a takeaway here from our visit today. Key dates to remember: our enrollment deadline registration will close Friday, September 20th, 11:59 p.m. That will be the last opportunity you and the team have to officially enroll any team in our upcoming fall season. As Zach shared earlier, 2 weeks of preseason, just like that NFL, give you a few reps to get your practice reps in there. Week of the 9th and the 16th, and regular season will then pick up the week of September 23rd. We'll run that 8-week regular season, 2 weeks of playoffs, and then championship week wraps up just before that winter holiday break. And speaking to the pricing, as you can see there now, we are thrilled to announce as of this past November, we are free to play, free to compete. There's no payment towards PlayVersus. I do like to share any funding, financial responsibility that falls on the team would be as collecting or acquiring those technology pieces we spoke to earlier, Nintendo Switches, PlayStations, PCs, or additional copies of the games. So we're ecstatic to announce that we are free and excited to bring some more students and opportunities in. So I know this was a lot of information coming at you from PlayVersus here this afternoon or whenever you're watching this. If there are any questions for those returning schools, teams that may have competed in the past, any updates you're looking for, go ahead and reach out to Zach Baxley here, my teammate. Any new schools who may be interested, whether you're an administrator, coach, teacher, community member, parent, please feel free to reach out to myself, eric.suter@playvs.com. You can also get any of your questions answered here at our support line, support@playversus.com as well. The next few slides, we do have some resources that I've shared with coaches and teams in the past, really to help answer any of your questions or simply utilize as you start building out your teams, connecting to our platform, all the fun processes as we near this upcoming fall season.
And a lot of these, like I know on this slide, a lot of them are YouTube videos, which make it really simple to be able to walk you through like where to click, that sort of thing. So really good stuff.
And on the right here, you'll see an example of that chat feature that I mentioned earlier. We have a few titles or articles that you can click through. And if you click on the messages tab there at the bottom, you'll be directly linked to one of our members of our support team. Next few slides, I believe, are rule books and game day protocols or game day instructions on how to get up and running. All these icons here have the hyperlink, I believe, attached to them. So we'll come with updated rule books as we start building them out and editing them from season to season. I believe any updates for Madden 24 or NBA 2K, once we do transition to the 25 version, will be updated here automatically.
Okay.
And I will pass it back to Ryan here. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks, Eric and Zach. So a lot of good stuff. So again, if you joined us late, you are going to get a copy of the slide deck. You'll get a copy of this recording. So as you're watching along, you can kind of follow those slides. Again, a ton of resources, links built in those different slides throughout the entire presentation. So you will want to check that out or share that with whoever is going to help lead the charge on this. So I just want to take the last few minutes that we have together to talk about some unique things that make the Michigan High School Esports League, I think, special, which has helped make our growth really one of the leaders. Again, as we said, nationally, the amount of people that are joining our league and participating in our state is really quite remarkable. So what makes us unique? I'm not going to play it for time, but if you ask our coaches, if you ask the parents who've come to watch an event, or the student athletes, they love the opportunity to be able to compete, to represent their school. We want it to be a great experience, even if they lose, right? Kids are competitive sometimes, and that's okay. And they might be bummed that they lose, but at the end of the day, we want them to feel like they gain something from this experience. We see, as we mentioned earlier, increases in digital citizenship, communication skills, leadership skills. And so you'll hear that if you talk to a lot of our coaches. So that's a good video to watch.
The Michigan
down the road. We host a lot of events throughout the year, both fall and spring. We put on in-person tournaments. A lot of the kids, they're playing virtually, right? So they do have a really good time when we get to do something in person. So that kid that they might know by their gamer tag that that they've never met before, they get to see them in person for the first time, and they hit it off, and they talk about, oh, how did come you pick this character, or why do you like this map? And it's really cool to watch that in person, as you saw in that video earlier in the presentation. We also have, it really is one of its first of its kind that I know of, a Shoutcaster Showdown competition. So shoutcasting, which is the color commentary or the play-by-play that we are familiar with from football and basketball, right? Except it's applied to esports in the video game that they're playing. And so we actually put on a competition that had students or teams of students compete, watching a game play out that they didn't get to see before. They're watching it live. And then they are kind of graded and assessed through a rubric we used in terms of how successful they were calling that match. So think of, band festival or solo ensemble, if you're a music person, or the forensics or debates competitions you've ever been a part of, DECA, BPA, very similar with an esports twist on it. And we held that at Ferris, and our winner received a scholarship. So it was really, really cool. So those are just two of many different events we put on. I got to participate in a pep assembly at Detroit Catholic Central High School. They did a pep assembly at the end of the school day. I'm sure we're all familiar with that. We get the kids in the building. We do some games, maybe the old tug of war match that takes place. They did a Rocket League match against a division athletic opponent from basketball or whatever that came. They set up a stage, they played. This was, and I'm a former high school principal, by the way, the loudest pep assembly I've ever been to. It was so loud. They put this video on TikTok, and I think ESPN ran with it on their TikTok account, and Rocket League themselves did, the publisher of the game. It had over 1 million views. I'll play just a couple seconds of it. These kids went nuts for the first goal. It was so crazy. Cheering, the band was in there playing the fight song, and they're playing along. So it was just super cool. So when I say that kids are into this, you have kids that want this, they absolutely do. We just got to figure out a constructive, method to harness that and to make it beneficial for everybody, right? So we put on an esports conference, which was designed for people that are already participating in esports, that want to level up, and they want to hear from college athletes how to kind of step up their game, as well as people that are brand new and they're just learning more and want to know how to get started and everything in between. So it was a really cool conference at Oakland University. This comes from our fall semifinals and championships. We had a team come all the way down. You can see from the pictures here, from Marquette, from the UP. They drove like 9 hours to come down and compete, and they got a hotel, and it was the best experience those kids had because they never had a chance to do that before. So it was really, really cool. Again, you saw a video earlier from our spring semifinals and championships. If you get a chance to watch it, you'll understand why it's such a great time. And so we do in-person stuff. We do virtual things. We have a lot of great partners from the different colleges and pro organizations within our state. We put on new coach webinars, virtual strategy sessions. We have a college intern that usually works with us each and every season, and more. And so those are just a few of the things that really separates ourselves out. We do have a free online course. So if you are an educator looking for some sketchies, and you want to learn more about esports, a lot of the things we talked about in this webinar just expanded on a little bit, especially the career and college opportunities that's focused on esports. You can take this course. It's free, and it gets 2 sketchies, and it's hosted on the Michigan Virtual Professional Learning Platform. But MHSEL is a sponsor of that course. There are middle-level esports opportunities. If you're a middle school and you want to learn more about that, you can reach out to my colleague Nina or myself. And this is a quote we like to share all the time that, with esports, no matter the results, when students compete, school culture wins. And so that's really, really important to us. Here is my contact information. My partner, Maggie, who is out today. So chances are if you email either the info@mhsel.org or myself or Maggie, you will get one of us. And just like Zach and Eric are on standby, we're always on standby. We can answer questions. I can hop on meetings with principals and athletic directors. You want me to talk at a board meeting? I'm happy to do all those different things if we can work it out on the schedule. So I think that is it. I'm going to go back and just leave this screen up so you have our contact info. That's it. So, hey, right on the mark, 45 minutes exactly. So we did it. Eric and Zach, thank you so much for hanging out. I'm going to hang tight on this. If there's a couple people that have any questions, you want to chat, we can talk and we can get those questions answered. Otherwise, we'll send all this info out to you probably tomorrow before the holiday weekend. Have a great weekend, everybody. Thanks for hanging out.
Hey, Ryan, real
See you
quick.
join us
Sorry, I
next
didn't
fall or
want to
spring.
cut
Go
you
ahead,
off.
Zach.
So I wanted to mention, and we didn't have it on any of the slides because we just recently announced it last week, but we will have chess on the Play Versus platform for this upcoming fall. So if you already have some sort of chess club at your school, this would be a great way to kind of integrate into esports and grow that program, starting with chess and then maybe adding Super Smash Bros, League of Legends, going from there. So just wanted to make that quick call out before we did end this.
And chess will actually be available on Chromebooks. So I know a lot of teams are steering away and went to the one-to-one devices. So this will be available on Chromebooks starting this fall season.
Very cool. Awesome. Well, Eric, Zach, thank you for your time. Everybody else, thanks for hanging out. Hope you found this informative and helpful. Have a great weekend, and we'll hopefully see your school joining us next fall. Take care, everybody.